computer. Okay, it says it's rolling, so we should be good. So got a few things going on here, so that's okay. Sorry, Deneen. I don't want this job, I promise. So,
So
yeah.
I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and I want to introduce Vanessa Rovig, who's going to talk to us about the SAFE project. And so I'm really excited to hear about it because I know that there was a lot of work in the past that has been done on similar projects. So, but with that, Vanessa, why don't you just take it away?
That sounds really great. Thank you, Deneen, for this opportunity. I'm so excited to share my project, Find Safe. And if I seem like I'm a little distracted, I'm just going to admit people here as people keep calling in. So this is amazing. So I work at the North Dakota Center for Persons with Disabilities. And I was previously on the ASTEP project, if some of you heard about that one. And I now got to be a part of this awesome project called Project Find Safe. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I hope that I can still see if people are going to be coming in or not. So we'll just do our best. So I'll bring my project up here. Okay. And I'm actually going to, I saw, just 1 second, sorry. I saw there was one more person coming in. Okay. So I'll do my best. If somebody texts you, Deneen, during and they say, hey, I can't get in, just let me know and we'll kind of go from there, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. So can you guys see my screen here? I'm going to try to make it bigger. There we go. Okay, so thank you, everyone. This is Project Find Safe. It's a 3-year grant through the Department of Justice, and I'm the project director for it. So basically my role right now is working and collaborating with our law enforcement around the state, and then working with families that might have a loved one with a developmental disability or a loved one with Alzheimer's dementia. And this ranges across from young kiddos to the aging population. So it's really a vast range of ages that I work with. And so Find Safe is funded through the Department of Justice. This is our cute little flyer, which I'll attach after, or you guys might have already had access to. And so our goal is basically, we've heard of cases in the past where there's been youth with autism who, I think it was a young boy in Grand Forks who passed away, who wandered and they found him in water. And I know this was a little while ago, but this is kind of where this project stemmed from, because we know that there's a need, especially, you know, in North Dakota, where we have individuals who are prone to wandering. We have very, you know, fluctuating temperatures and everything else. And we really want to make sure that we can keep everybody safe from injury and from death. And so that's where this project stemmed from. The goal of our project, though, was a little bit different than maybe how other projects have been done in the past. And we wanted to make it a statewide effort because we know that North Dakota is like really big on land size, but small on population, right? And so there's a lot of ways that I think we can collaborate. And one piece that law enforcement really, really liked was that they could work with not just highway patrol, but it could be police departments, it could be EMS, it could be fire, like it could be all of these other service agencies that we could collaborate with. And I'm really learning a lot about how, you know, it's kind of like everything is like very like this county only does this and this county only does this. But for highway patrol standpoint, they wanted to make it a much more, you know, collaboration, which was a win-win-win across the board for everybody. So basically, we provide the equipment called Project Lifesaver. And I'm sure a few of you might have heard of this equipment before, but it's equipment that was founded from a man, I believe he's in Virginia, where he was a police officer and he was able to go and he saved a young man with autism. And he's like, well, there has to be an easier way. There has to be a better way to find individuals if they do go wandering or are prone to elopement. And so he figured out the technology, and he figured out, you know, working with law enforcement and being able to have that partnership between families, and then working with families with disabilities, and the partnership with law enforcement was just an amazing partnership overall. So he started his program. It's a nonprofit. And so basically it starts from, if you notice on the picture here, it's a bracelet transmitter. So inside that transmitter case, there's a battery and a transmitter, unique transmitter with an ID on it. And basically that is only worn on the ankle or the wrist and other parts of the body, depending on the individual. We have had to get kind of unique in some situations, but we wanted to be able to continue that and be able to have that battery so that if they go missing, law enforcement has the receiver on their end and the battery and transmitter on the person, so that we're able to go and find that individual. And so once they're enrolled, I enroll them on the program. I help the family one-on-one with battery changes, making sure everything is good with understanding the equipment. If they have questions, kind of like that go-to. And then law enforcement, who got trained back in September, we trained 24 law officers with this grant. Then we're able to go out. They know the protocol, they know what to do, they know how to use the equipment, and they can find the individual as soon as possible. So I do have a video here that I will share, and it will give you a little bit better demonstration of what the equipment and how it works. And let me know if you guys can't hear it, but it should.
Well, a pair of drownings this past summer led to massive searches, and it also claimed the lives of 2 young boys with autism.
Those deaths are raising awareness of a program that can help first responders track missing persons more quickly. Rich Nye shows us how the system works and gives families a safe peace of mind.
Children with autism sometimes have a tendency to wander off. If they do, this device and that chirp you hear might save their life.
They don't understand safety. They don't understand depths of water, things like that. So there's a lot more risks in being able to teach a person with autism a lot of the safety awareness that they would need to remain safe.
The Wayne and Decatur Township and Morgan County Fire Departments ran a rescue simulation at Daymar Services using Project Lifesaver.
The first thing we do is to do a 360 because the victim could be in the home or whatever the last seen location was.
The receiver listens for a radio signal sent by a bracelet transmitter worn by people who tend to wander off.
So over here, to our right.
You know that time is critical, so you were hustling.
Absolutely, yes, because kids, especially kids with autism, are attracted to water. So whenever, we go on a search, we take everyone seriously. Here she is. I found her. I found her. I found the victim. Are you okay?
The drill victim, Marlena, was found about 300 yards away in just over 5 minutes. Searches this summer in Brownsburg and Perry Township took many hours before the boys with autism were found in retention ponds 100 yards from the homes.
I know it would have made a difference because they would have been found, a lot sooner instead of overnight or, hours later. So it would have made a difference. So, I mean, it's if you have a child that wanders, has a history, they need to be on Project Lifesaver.
Kim Cease's son Derek was the first person in Indiana to wear the tracking device when he was 10 years old. He's 21 now and still wears it for safety. With Project Lifesaver, it only took firefighters just a few minutes to find Marlena because she was wearing this bracelet. Contact your local public safety agency for more information. I'm Rich Nye, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, so that just gives a really good demonstration of kind of the training that we had back in September. And so I actually got to participate in it. So those receivers that the lady was holding, those are what locates the individual. So as long as that bracelet is on that individual and the battery is on and it's working, that officer will be able to find that individual as soon as possible. And so we did it for an example, if you're in the Bismarck area, we did it from a house not far from the Capitol, and we placed the transmitter, just that tiny little transmitter with a band, not even locating a human, all the way past Menards. So that's like a fair distance away. I know the range is up to 3 miles at first, But what we provided through this grant was we were able to purchase 6 receivers, so 6 of those, like, of the pieces that the lady was moving around, and we were able to purchase another 8 Omni magnetic antennas that fit on the law enforcement's vehicles. So we can have multiple law enforcement coming in from different angles, and they're able to move quickly from that from a vehicle standpoint. It doesn't have to always be just on the ground. You can also equip them on a helicopter, a 4-wheeler, you know, anything like that. So that's just one thing, and that's really important, is that the range is quite good. But all they need is to hear is they're just listening for that little chirp. As soon as they get any little chirp, they know which way to move in that direction. And so it does go off of an FM transmitter, which is important to note. It's not GPS. So if the individual is around a large building or anything like that, they're able to still not have the deflection like a GPS would. They would be able to locate that individual based on that chirp. It's not going to have a problem with that by higher buildings or anything, you know, or locating an individual. It's a water resistant band, and so if an individual is in water or close to water or whatever else, they're still able to locate that transmitter. So the technology works, you know, and for privacy, I think people feel safer knowing that it's an FM transmitter. It can't just be located at any time. It's nothing that people can track or anything like that. Some people are worried about people or like things tracking their phones or, you know, stuff like that, privacy that way. And it's no worries about that. It's only being used in an emergency situation like that. So yeah, it was really fascinating to see. And I think in the future, you know, once, you know, maybe next summer or anything like that, once things maybe calm down, and we'll say the C word wise, because nobody wants to talk about that right now, that we are able to go and show demonstrations of how this works. Oh, did someone have a question? No? Okay. So this is our website here. It's nothing fancy right now, but I've heard in the new year that I'm going to be able to upgrade the website a little bit. So if you want to check us out, we're at ndcpd.org/findsafe. And on there, we have information about Project LifeSaver. We have information about, let me see here, our FindSafe grant, and how to enroll, anything like that. So I really encourage, if you yourself are looking into this project, or if you know a family that might be interested, please check that website out. We're also connected with the Alzheimer's Association of North Dakota and Minnesota, and have resources to connect families that way. So if you guys want any information on there, we definitely can add that to it. We want to work in collaboration with everyone, because it has to be, we have to work together. So for those of you on Twitter, Project LifeSaver is pretty active on there, and they have a lot of really interesting information on how maybe other states are using this program, which really helps to put things into perspective of how unique North Dakota's situation of working as a statewide program. They also, you know, offer this equipment in Canada and the UK, so it really is, you know, a well-known and just really, it's good equipment. It has backing to it, and it has a lot of law enforcement backing, which works really nicely for situations like this. Okay, so the biggest part that I think I really want to reiterate is that we really want to make sure that this is prevention of wandering, but we want to make sure that there's other steps being taken first. We don't just want to slap a bracelet on everybody that, you know, comes to us. We want to know if the family has taken preventative steps at first. You know, are you making sure that there's certain locks on your door? Have you reached out to other resources first? Because this really is meant to be if the individual is wandered or is really showing signs of wandering. Obviously, you know, if the family is in need and they're feeling like this is their last resort, then that is a situation where, yes, we want to put the bracelet on them. But that is encouraged. We want to make sure we encourage families to really, you know, reach out to those outside resources. Autism Speaks, Alzheimer's Association of North Dakota and Minnesota, before enrolling in the program. And I really work hard to, you know, get a good feel, because obviously I'm not able to actually physically meet some of the families. Everything's done virtually, so I just have to get like a feel for how each family's unique situation is, and then we go from there. We take next steps from there. Okay, so we have 50 bracelet supply kits, which is a year-long supply of the bracelet, the transmitter case, the bands, all of that, to share to families in North Dakota who are eligible. And so I have already shared about 5 bracelets kits to families in surrounding areas around North Dakota. And it's been so far working really well. But through our grant, we were able to purchase, well, we actually only had to do 2 grants. We did this Find Safe grant, and then I did a separate grant to purchase another 30 bracelet kits. And so that we can start families using this, seeing how it works, kind of working through that. So any family that qualifies, obviously the individual has to show tendencies or has wandered in the past, and they can live at home. We have individuals who live at home, and we have had individuals now who have been in a facility. And I've been actually working with a lot of facilities, assisted living facilities. You guys might have heard about the situation in Fargo with the elderly man who went missing and was found. And a situation like that has kind of, really just been a little bit scary for families. And I've had a lot of families in the Fargo area specifically reaching out because they are concerned. And what most facilities have in their offices there or in the buildings there are alert systems. So they're wander guard systems, things of that nature. But they're not always, that doesn't mean they can't leave, or, they have situations like what happens. So that is where, if an individual is showing those signs, we can easily work with the facility to put a bracelet on them and train the staff there, or train the nurses there. So there's definitely a lot of good collaboration that can happen with that as well. And so my role is to work one-on-one with the family, help them, assemble the bracelet, make sure everything is good with that. If any problems arise, make sure that I help them with, making sure that you guys or the family is doing the battery checks. Most times we really like to have families change the battery every 30 days, but we can go longer to 60 days depending on, it just depends just on the battery, I guess, and how secure families feel. Sometimes they really like to just every 30 days, they just change the battery out. And then law enforcement's role is they've been trained. They'll be doing, upcoming like mock trainings just to make sure that they're fresh with hearing that chirp, making sure they know how to use the receiver, all of those things. And all of those receivers are spread out throughout the entire state of North Dakota. So they're in varying areas. But if we have a family that we need a receiver closer to that family, we can definitely move that receiver closer to them. So it just is going to vary on like where the need is right now. We are, hoping to get some more outside funding to purchase more receivers. And long-term, from a law enforcement standpoint, this is a no-brainer. The time and resources, canine units, manpower, volunteers, all of those things to find an individual, those are things that are really big for law enforcement. And if they have the equipment to do this on a much more cost-efficient and efficient way, and will save the individual and make sure that they're safe, then they're going to go for that. This is just a win-win-win for everybody. So that's something that I really want to continue to share that message of, because long-term they are hoping to go, to legislation to see if there could be a full-time position for this. They don't see this program going away. So with this collaboration, it's working really nicely, and so far has been pretty smooth. You guys might have just seen the potentially, the couple silver alerts. Those are things that I'm always on the lookout for. If there's a way that I can connect with that family or anything like that, we just want to make sure that people know about this program. And if they can keep a loved one at home that might have, Alzheimer's or dementia, or, if it's a young individual with autism, Down syndrome, anything under the developmental disability, that we can keep them safe, and it's just peace of mind then for the families as well. So overall, I just feel like a vessel for this program that I get to just share this message and really just promote it and market it as much as possible, and to let families know about it, because it works and it's keeping people safe, and that's just the main goal for what we're trying to do here. So I am so tired. I just talked for like 20 minutes, so I am going to stop and see if there's any questions.
You had a message in the chat, Vanessa.
Okay. What cities have law enforcement been trained? Is Jamestown one of them, that this would be available? Yes, it is. And one of the first people that I enrolled was in Jamestown. So there is a family already set up with this project, Find Safe, in the Jamestown area. The cities that law enforcement have been trained, that's a really good question. And I have a really amazing map that I don't want to like even try to like pull up right now, but I can give you a general gist. We really, working with Highway Patrol, they wanted to make it very strategic because West Fargo has already been trained. They did it through a foundation. Grand Forks already had the training. And I believe Grafton had, they have receivers there. I don't know if anyone's trained, but they had receivers there that weren't being used that we're working in collaboration now to work on. So we've had Botno, Minot, Dickinson, Fargo, Jamestown, and it's going to go by county after that. And so think of it like if here's North Dakota, I'm kind of going around. I don't know this part in the side here, but I can share that the cities in an email if that would help. But again, we train those just based off of where North Dakota, you know, where it is, but at the same time that those can be moved because we have other officers trained. I'm just going off of where our receivers are right now. So we really trained all over the state, so that hopefully, you know, someone would be within an hour range of having a receiver and could get to that individual as quick as possible. Awesome question. Thank you, Susie.
Has there been any from the rural counties that have requested some training?
Like law enforcement?
Yeah.
The only areas that I've had reach out have been Fargo PD.
Okay.
So far. I know that Dickinson is very interested in training more individuals, and they're able to because this training that they did with the Project Lifesaver is a train the trainer model. But you can only train within your county, right? So if it's Highway Patrol can only train other Highway Patrol. They couldn't train like Dickinson PD or something along those lines. It's kind of like just an agreement that this Project Lifesaver has. They want to make sure that it's fresh coming in or however they work it. So it's like, for example, and it's money too, right? Because each one gets different funds. So for example, West Fargo's already trained, but Fargo wants to do the training and I'm working with them to help find a grant and get an estimate price so that we could get the Project Lifesaver folks in to train their officers. But West Fargo couldn't train Fargo PD, if that makes sense. It's really, I'm like super not I don't have any police background.
So this is Vicki. I have a question. So as you showed that video and her running up to the person who had the beep beeps going. So do you train these officers as well through Project Lifesaver on how to approach people so that whoever you're not running into is running further away from you?
Yes, yeah, it was a 2 full day training, and it was both 2 half days were mainly hands-on, and then another one was just strictly in the classroom, and that was a huge emphasis. And especially, you know, working at NDCPD, that was a big thing for me too, is just making sure that they had the appropriate approach when working with individuals with any disability, and that they knew, you know, the appropriate steps to take. They had a lot of really good scenario videos, so what not to do and then what to do, and then they re-emphasized it and they had more conversations about it. You know, I also, you know, I really spoke because I was kind of just like, I was basically like listening to the training too, but then I would interject sometimes and I would just add some pieces and making sure that people understood and that the officers understood. I think the biggest thing though is that from a law enforcement, like depending on the situation, as long as it's not a dangerous situation, meaning like life or death for that individual, they're going to take the appropriate steps to make sure that that individual doesn't run away from them and is, you know, feels safe and feels like they can like trust them. But some situations, like they let me know, like if they need to save that person and get in there and make sure that they're okay, if they're close to water or whatever it is that they need to, they're going to be their main goal. Another piece that was brought up was just once I hear from families and if they're interested and I sign them and I put them in this online portal, they're assigned an officer. Not all the time, you know, but I inform our contact at Highway Patrol and then he reaches out to that officer that's trained. And what we're working with is having that officer go to the family's home or meet the individual, you know, talk to them, let them know they've been trained if they have any questions, or maybe they want the individual wants to show them their bracelet, kind of gain that rapport between the family and the officer so that they're able to, you know, make those connections and make them so that they're not, you know, like a scary officer, right? Because some of them are, you know, intimidating, and that's scary when an individual is already scared and in a situation that they don't want to be in. So it, you know, law enforcement are aware, and I was pretty impressed with overall the disability awareness that they did. That's a really
So is your program working with the counties where it was already existing, such as Grand Forks?
Yes, they're aware of our program, so that if we do have an individual who is in the Grand Forks area, we update that that law enforcement that's been trained, and they'll be able to support that individual. Yes.
Okay, because some of them were in existence before your program.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you're still working with all of them.
Yes, yep, and that's something that's really really big for Highway Patrol, because they want to have that collaboration with all the law enforcements, and that's just a win for them as well. So it's really opening up a lot of doors having this program around.
So how about those areas where there's counties, do they cross over into another county, such as Berkeley County crossing into Morton?
Yes.
Hey Vanessa, this is Brittany. Hey, did you, for Vicky's purpose too, because Bismarck, did you ever track down, or did Bismarck kind of follow back up with the receivers that were here?
We did. We found three more.
Awesome.
Yes, so that was amazing. It was like back and forth. We didn't know where they were, and yes, we got three more receivers that we can use. And so I attended the training on Monday, Tuesday, and then we had a second round because we had smaller groups. And then the Wednesday, Thursday, there was an officer who is in the Bismarck PD, and so she had access to them, and so we were able to work with her on that. So yes.
Awesome. Yeah, and from what Vanessa told me prior to when Joe Cox was doing it in Bismarck previously, Vicky, he was kind of on his own time, training people who wanted to volunteer. It wasn't in any kind of official process by any means. And then because he was on his own time, he could cross from county to county, stuff like that. But from what Vanessa has told me in the past, I believe there's kind of an MOU across the state where there really shouldn't be any holdups other than that training and who's paying for it factor.
Yeah, I know in the very beginning around here, there was some issues with Burley going into Morton. And so I kind of was just wondering if it had been fixed. I mean, it's been about a year since I've been into, we go in, I mean, I go in with family members around here, and we go into the Burley County Sheriff's Departments, the Highway Patrol, and the Bismarck PD, and do some training just as parents around here. And so it's been about a year, so I hadn't heard if that county thing got cleared up, but you know, it kind of seemed like a waste if you couldn't cross the county when you're in Bismarck and to get all the help that you need.
Yeah. I wasn't a part of the initial conversations. The PI on the project is Dr. Lori Garnes, who has just been amazing and just did a ton of work to get. It didn't take much once law enforcement figured out, there's this grant and there's this money and everything else. But just the partnerships that are being formed, I've been really impressed. And, I'm probably speaking to a different police officer, every other week, probably, just sharing information, letting them know that I have a family that's reached out, or if they're reaching out to me, letting me know there's a potential family. So it's been a really great partnership. I really can't speak highly enough about that.
Did anyone else have any comments or questions for Vanessa?
I'll ask another question. Those receiver bracelets, if you have someone who is intelligent enough to remove things such as that, can they be replaced if you don't lose the tracker part?
Right. So, because the receiver is what the officers have, your transmitter is on the bracelet. So you can damage everything you want. Those are all cheap things to replace. Do not damage the transmitter. So the family that I'm working with, where we've had to get creative, we're actually modifying a shoe, because he has one pair of shoes, and we're actually working with a shoe repair shop, and they're taking the sole out and they're basically making a area for the transmitter. We're grinding the sides of the transmitter to make it smaller and putting that transmitter with a Velcro piece attached inside the shoe so that it's easy for them to change the batteries out, because this individual wears a Wander Guard and he flushes them down the toilet. And once that goes down the drain, we don't have access. The transmitter is the expensive part of the bracelet. So if you have an individual that really does not like the feel of it, I know Brittany and I had a conversation previously about, the feel of the bands, and they're really not as hard as I thought. They're actually quite soft, but the point of them is normally in a situation is that you can only cut them off. But for certain individuals who have sensory issues, things like that, they have an item that they keep with them all the time. We can attach it to that. I know in the past, Project Lifesaver has attached it to wheelchairs. They had one lady who always carried her purse no matter what, or if they have a necklace. It's a little bulky, but some individuals don't mind that. So it really is individualized for each family for that piece.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Anyone else?
And Vanessa, this is Joan, and I live in Grand Forks. And I just want to thank you for, and Minot NDCPD for having this program, because I actually worked with Anthony and his family. Anthony's the one that drowned in the river here. I think he'd be 21 this year. He died just a couple days after his 11th birthday. And anyway, I remember after that happening, Lori and several of us had conference calls, trying to get something going and trying to get Project Lifesaver across the state. Because we were fortunate enough to have an officer at the East Grand Forks Police Department that really stepped up and got it in our area. Along with another mother in East Grand Forks. So anyway, I just thought it was neat how you talked about Anthony at the beginning of your presentation. And so, yeah, he didn't die in vain, and he was a great kid. So thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Yeah. And I meant to tell you too, I don't know if you were aware that his family actually went on to sell little bracelets and things at like the autism walks and everything here in town to raise money so that they could actually buy bracelets for other families that needed them. So yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Joan. And I love hearing that, because again, I just feel like I get to be this vessel of just sharing this information. when, you know, there's so many amazing things that can happen with this. And I worked on a previous grant where I loved it, and I still, you know, everything about it was amazing, but this one just seems like extra special, and it just seems like something that is so necessary, and it's such a simple solution, and yet it can open up so many doors and keep so many people safe from wandering. So I'm really working my hardest to make sure that this message gets out to as many people as possible. So thank you, Joan.
Can I pick on somebody? Samantha Harrison, did you have any questions for Vanessa?
You're that kind of person, Doni?
I am.
I didn't. I'm just so interested to learn about stuff that I don't normally come across. So that's why I like to attend your stuff, Denny.
I just wondered if it would be helpful for EMS.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be something to think about also is maybe in the places that you do distribute these, and if the families there have good relationships with their EMS agency, then maybe they could know about it too, and they would definitely, you know, be able to help the family and help law enforcement locate these people sometimes. Yeah.
Are you affiliated with EMS, Sam?
Yeah, I'm the EMS for Children coordinator at the state of North Dakota.
Well, I might want to reach out to you because my wonderful secretary, Jolie, made me this list like this long of all these individuals. I've been individually reaching out to just EMS across the state. So maybe I could connect with you, and maybe you would have a more efficient list, or just maybe there's some way that we could get this out a little easier through.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be amazing.
I will put my email.
She always has a message behind everything she does. So that was very specific to ask Sam. Hello.
You're good at it. There's my email, Vanessa.
Perfect. I will copy that right now, and I'll put it in my email.
You mentioned, Vanessa, that it's probably going to get brought up in this legislative session. Do you know if you have worked with any of the legislators yet, as far as maybe a bill that's coming up, so that we can also share that with families and others when the time comes to help with some testimony?
That would be amazing. I haven't yet. Mainly that's from Highway Patrol.
Okay.
Their vision. And so I can revisit it again with them to see, you know, if they're willing to, you know, put something in, because they have so many more connections than, I mean, I've spoken with our individual to represent us, you know, in legislation and things like that, and to share our message. I've also, you know, been in contact with Cody Pinks with the state there. And so she's shared, you know, everything with our project within that higher up, you know, level. But in regard to like an actual bill or anything like that, no. Highway Patrol was the one that brought that up. And so we were going to work in collaboration, but I haven't heard anything about it yet. So if anyone has any, you know, recommendations of people to go to kind of start that, or if I hear of anything, I'll forward any information on to Deneen, and then Janine, if you want to share it, then absolutely. You guys can also, you know, follow us on our NDCPD page on Facebook too. I've been trying to do once a month, just do a post out there and things like that. So, you know, that might be another place to look for that as well. But I'll email and keep you guys in contact.
Yeah, and just so you know, Vanessa, so Pat Heinert is a representative now in North Dakota, and he's the ex-chief of police and sheriffs around here in Bismarck, Burleigh County. And he was pretty interested in this several years ago. So in case it ends up not being just DOT that's going in and you guys going in, he might be a really good one to start with if you're looking at bills, you know.
Okay, that is very good information to know. And I'm assuming probably
Yeah,
knows.
he was very interested in Project Lifesaver several years ago. So
Okay, fantastic.
Vanessa?
Yeah.
This is Gretchen Dobrovich. I'm also a legislator and I'm on the Human Services Committee. So I don't know what type of bill is being looked at or what committee it would go through, but certainly if it goes through Human Services, I will be a friendly face on the other side of the table for it. I worked for 15 years with the Alzheimer's Association and I'm just delighted that this service is available in North Dakota now for adults and for children. Thank you.
Awesome. That is good to know.
I was gonna pick on you next, Gretchen. The other thing, Vanessa, that it just kind of crossed my mind is there is a lifespan respite grant that's out there through Aging Services. And on that committee are a lot of the folks that for the adult elderly population, the Alzheimer's Association, and many, many others.
Yeah.
I wonder, her name is Mary Welts, and she's at Aging Services.
I did a presentation for her.
Okay, good. All right.
Where is this? There's a grant though out right now about this?
A lifespan respite grant. So yeah, it's for anybody who needs respite across the lifespan, but I'm going to make a broad leap in saying that maybe there's some of those that are caregiving at home that may have a individual that has Alzheimer's or they just need a break. This might be another way to partner too.
Yes. Mary was the one that there's a funds available through Senior Safety. If that sounds familiar. And Mary discussed, it's like a flat $300 per year or something like that. And she discussed upping it to that $325 so that, because that's how much one of these bracelet supply kits costs, is $325 for the initial kit. That's the bands, the transmitter, everything like that. And then, you know, it would just be working with the law enforcement then to make sure that they knew about that individual being enrolled. And then after that, it's just upkeep of batteries, bands, you know, if anything happened to the case or anything like that, general wear and tear, but it's literally $325. It's not even a huge cost, but definitely one that I don't believe anyway that families should have to do. It's something that, like, let's work together with Medicaid or what other funds are available. And so Mary was the one who talked about that. So she is really cool.
Yeah, she's a nice lady.
I'm going to look into that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? I'm looking at the screen. Brittany, Courtney.
Hey, Vanessa, sorry, I chimed in obviously late or tuned in late. What was Highway Patrol initially talking about trying to do with legislation?
Oh, they were just talking about creating a position. So basically, so that the program could continue, but there'd be a person, you know, even part-time, where they would go around the state, you know, get the people enrolled in the bracelet, or you could do it all virtually, really, if doing this job, you know. But that's what they were talking about, because that way it continues to be a statewide program, and that individual is just like that main point of contact, making sure all the battery changes are done, you know, answering those day-to-day questions that maybe law enforcement don't have time for. You know, that's kind of what they were thinking.
And they suggested that? Because I think that's new since the last time we talked, because I think you were still brainstorming, trying to see where.
They kind of hinted at it, and then that was initially like a Lori and like Highway Patrol conversation. I just kind of like picked in on that after a little while.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So Brittany was awesome. She actually helped out with our conference, and she spoke as a parent for the Project Lifesaver conference. So that was amazing, and I thought we got really good feedback too from that. So that was a fantastic opportunity as well. So thank you again, Brittany. You were amazing.
Anyone else? Courtney, Sydney, any questions at all? Comments? Do you want to put your phone number in the chat too, Vanessa, before we go? And in case anybody needs to get, or the Minot's NDCPD.
I'll even put the website here. Let's see, so there you go.
I used to have it memorized.
Did you really?
Well, we were on a project with NDCPD, so we were calling up there quite a lot. So it was like right on the top of your memory bank.
It's changed a little bit, but it's still really good. So
good.
Awesome. Well, I am very available by phone, and my phone actually goes straight to my cell phone. So I will always answer if you leave a voicemail or send an email or anything like that. Again, we just want to find as many families as possible right now, especially with the upcoming winter months. It's just really critical to see if there's as many, just be able to get this on people who might be at risk. So if you guys know of families or just word of mouth or even other places where I could do presentations for, I am just going down the list right now, EMS, fire, and just assisted living facilities across the state, and just, you know, offering to do short 15-20 minute presentations. I'm doing a lot for service agencies as well, because there's always, you know, maybe money's available where we could maybe purchase another receiver, or maybe they want to start a fundraiser for a bracelet kit for a family in need, you know, things like that. So I've really tried to broaden that scope a little bit. So
Great. I see there's a couple on the phone. Did you on the phone have any questions at all? Okay, hearing none. They're quiet.
I guess last one, have you made any headway in talking with Autism Services and DD by chance?
Like
knowing their stance of wanting to be the payer of last resort for a lot of stuff. I just didn't know if you were able to touch base with Kathy and Tina and them along the lines of if families, because I know we had chatted about, you know, the funds that you have, if families have resources elsewhere, you know, it's kind of the stance every place takes that has funding. And I know from before, at least for some in the Bismarck area, it was autism covered it, but DD wasn't willing at the time. There's since been some changes along those lines, but I don't know if you had been able to touch base with them or if they were receptive to visiting.
I'd have to look back, Brittany. I can't think of specifically. I feel like if I did, that was early on. And I don't know if there's any changes with the funding specifically. But that's something that I can definitely follow up on. That's a really good point, just to make sure. You know, I did my initial presentations for, you know, Autism Speaks and other areas around the state, but I can't think of Tina specifically.
And Kathy Barshinger with Autism Services.
Okay, let me look back on my emails, and Brittany,
I know we chatted about them before, but I think that was like early on.
Yeah, I feel like I did, but I'll check back in my notes here and I'll look and see what we discussed.
The only other thing I didn't hear was, you know, it's a means of emergency finding. You know, you hope you never have to use it, but if we never have to use it, or we use it and find people quickly and it kind of, you know, is done and quick and it doesn't make headlines and things like that, you know, keeping people engaged, the provider wise of the agencies getting involved in the training. If it's something that's quiet and it's not frequently utilized, it might get, you know, easily forgotten. Exactly. And so the more people that are enrolled, and especially if there's a source of funding, would be possible.
That's the piece, you know, initially I changed it for this presentation, but for, you know, when I am doing presentations for service, not just service agencies, but just provider agencies, is sustainability. And I really want to keep that a key component in when I'm talking to them, because that is long term. I do not want to see this project float away, because like you and I know you and I have discussed this, Brittany, like you said, one person's super passionate about it. They've got, you know, maybe a parent who is in law enforcement or whatever else. And as soon as that person leaves or goes away, poof, the program is gone because that family's moved away. And so that's what we're really hoping to, you know, not have happen in this situation. So the more people that we can get enrolled. I would love to, like, tomorrow have like 10 phone calls and all of these people calling me to get their loved one enrolled. If I can get rid of all of these bracelets kits, it would be fantastic because it shows the need. And I think that'll speak volumes too, you know, like we were saying, because weren't you saying before that through DD, Brittany, that you had to, like, they had to try it for a couple times, or what was it, something like that? Where
The friend of mine that had it for her kids to start when Joe Cox was doing it in Bismarck really struggled, but that was autism, and the Autism Waiver Autism Services covered it far easier. DD wasn't as receptive, and correct me, Vicki and Deneen, like, I know, you know, the push button life alert language was changed and some of the things like that along those lines, but they weren't super receptive, and the stance at the time was they want to be last resort. They want to be payer of last resort, you know, explore all other opportunities before they would seek out something of that nature. So I definitely don't know the current status, but there's a lot of families that qualify for those services to where, like we've talked about, you know, the grant monies that you have or the grant monies that other organizations can get would be able to then better support those families who are in the cracks and not qualifying for those other services. And so the more widespread, the more, you know, trained searchers, and as well as on the radar of knowledge, so that, you know, those funds can reach those families that need access to that support.
100%. Yep, exactly. I'll look back on my notes, Brittany, and I will let you know what I find out. It is way past my bedtime, and so I am totally going to go back and check, but I don't want to say anything that I'm just like, oh no, that wasn't right. So I will I'll follow up with you. So check your email, because I know I followed up with an email too before to you as well. So
I'll have to look too.
No,
it's a sea of
I know
emails.
you're a busy lady.
Okay, last call for any other questions or comments for Vanessa. Again, we're gonna put this on our Facebook page. Probably, I don't know how, I'll have to figure that out. And then we'll also have it on the web page. I have a tech person for that, so that's all good. So anyway, anybody last minute questions? Well, speak now or forever not. Thanks.
I love these meetings.
Oh, go ahead, Brittany.
I love these Zoom meetings way better than the phone call meetings of past. I don't know why. It's not as overwhelming sound wise. So maybe it's a COVID positive, no pun.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
Might be. Okay, thank you, Vanessa, so much for sharing that with us tonight.
Thank you so much for allowing me to talk about the project.
All right, thanks everyone. Good night.
Thank you. And I'll